Hello and welcome to the Authentically Me Unified Roundtable, bringing together the masculine and feminine energies. Thank you everybody for joining us, and thank you to Tracy, Priscilla and the team for putting the Wellness Lifestyle Conference together to provide a platform for us to have a voice. Before I introduce my guests, I would like to share a poem that was written to me and for me. The True Normal. The time has come for another round table, to speak the truth, to remove fable. Some might think that we're unstable. Bye-bye, bye-bye, bye-bye Babel. No more lies, no more deception. It is time for pure reception, only truth in your perception, to realize the pure conception, a world of many but all together, like one flock of different feathers, a collective bunch but never say never, because we win when we're all together. My message is simple, my message is true. This is a collective of me and you, all together, together as one. The one is the many under the sun. I could continue, but I will stop, cause I don't want this to be a flop. For I shall flip it to the top, cause in the end we will all rock. We may be the third rock from the sun, out in the boondocks, a species on the run. Our collective family having fun, watching us learn what we have spun. So as we spin it into the truth, now is the time to shout it from the roof. I should have finished when I said, as I now have a sore head, but I will continue in evolution, for it is the only solution. No longer must we think revolution, for repeating the past is the pollution. A pollution of mind, a pollution of perception. Repeating the past is the deception. What comes next may be insurrection. But is that the answer to this infection? Corona, corona everywhere. Wash your hands, tie back your hair. How much longer must we fare? Wear your mask. Do you not care? Stop the lies. Entropy is dead. You gotta get out of your head. You must remember there's only one truth, that all together we win this race. Peace, love, prosperity. Do no harm, cause no loss. Do not impede the freedom of another. Twin Flames, contute mie vitae. Thank you, Gags. Again, welcome to Authentically Me, the Unified Roundtable. I have the honor and privilege to introduce my guests to you today. Charlie Ward, he is from Spain. Nadine May from Cape Town, South Africa. Janie Lynn Smith from the USA. Dan and Jenni Abdeldoor in New Zealand. Perez Casanova, also from South Africa, and we are still waiting for Charlie Freak to join, and he will enter in a few moments. And I am your host, Nirvana Lange. And now, in preparation of this Unified Roundtable, it became impossible for me to lock in a subject or a topic, or how to even start today's conversation. Things are happening so fast that information of 5 minutes ago is already old. And every time I get to clarity, there is something new. You know that old mechanical pinball machine that has that little silver ball, and then you pull the lever and you release the ball, and you have to manage it with the flippers, and it gets flipped from one side to the other, bouncing from left, right, and center. We are inundated with so much stuff. One of the conversations that I listened to with Perez Casanova, a 4-hour with V, it was really mind-blowing, and it was absolutely floored me, because at the one moment we think it's a virus that's created in the lab, or is it about the deep state, or 5G, or is it about the arrest, or saving the children, or is it all of the above, or is there so much more going on that we don't know? Okay, so let's go on to my panel. Let's start off with Charlie Ward. Charlie, what is your sense of this pinball ball effect, and what is happening at the moment?
Well, that's a very, very good definition. I like that. But You know, we get pieces of information, all of us do. And I've said this a number of times, and it's very, very important that you need to reset your moral compass. So when you get these pieces of information that are coming through to you, you understand what they are. Because I was told 5 months ago, there'll be lots and lots of red flags. And how many times do we see a red flag and think it's real? And how many times do we see real things and think it's a red flag? Now, I've said it many times, if you believe in God, then you can talk to him and he'll guide you. If you believe in Allah, he'll guide you. If you don't believe in anybody, talk to your mother or your grandmother. Because they'll reset your moral compass so that you can find out what the truth is. And we need to be able to trust our intuition. So when things happen, many, many times, I'm hearing people saying, well, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't make sense because it is not sense. It's bullshit. It's lies. It's coming from the government. It's coming from evil forces. And this is where we need to clean out all the rubbish that's inside us and reset our moral compass so that when information comes to us, doesn't matter what it's about, it will come to us on a spiritual level. Because if we look at it, as Charlie Freak says, with the left-hand brain, which is just logical, we'll believe everything. Look at the people out there with the masks on. We've got people here that are wearing masks in Spain, ridiculous, but they're thinking with the left-hand part of the brain. They haven't opened up the right-hand part of the brain, which is emotion, spirituality. This is where you need to open this up so that you can look at things with a very clear mind. And then when you look at things, as you go through the different spiritual levels, first of all, from 3D to 5D, once you move across from 3D to 5D, which is basically coming out of the wood, you can't see the wood for the trees when you're inside it. So you have to step outside. That gets you, you're in the 5th dimension then. Then you go through the different levels and things become clearer and clearer. And it's not about your religion. It's about your spirituality, your faith, trusting yourself. But it's critical to get your moral compass right first before you start doing it.
Thank you very much, Charlie. And, you know, I've been listening to a lot of your videos, and as we go along, we'll have some questions for you. Nadine, if we can get your perspective.
You know, I write about the ascension journey through 5 stages of an awareness. And it's very clear that at the moment, the world is stuck into the 2nd and the 3rd stage. But we're moving into the 4th stage. And the people here on the channel and people who are drawn to a new earth, ascending, whatever they feel is going to happen, are moments in the 4th stage. And that's where it feels like we have a division, because it's a division of awareness. Facebook is very much a 2nd and 3rd stage information gathering platform. And it triggers our subconscious, what we haven't dealt with or what we are dealing with. So yeah, it's all coming like a ping pong machine. That was a very good analysis. That's my part. And it's an exciting time too, especially when you get into the 4th stage, you get more psychic awareness, psychic moments, intuition. That all comes more in the 4th stage. Of course, the 5th stage is the ascension stage, but we haven't reached that. We are fluctuating like ping pong balls, like jugglers between the 3rd stage and the 4th stage. And sometimes we go back to the 2nd stage if we have to deal with something within ourselves. And that is very much my work. And it's written through novels. I like creative writing. And through, of course, the workbook of the Language of Light, my artwork.
Okay, Janie, my beautiful, beautiful friend from the US. She does, like, just remind me again.
I call them galactic light codes.
That's it, galactic light codes, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how's your pinball machine and little pinball ball feeling? That little metal ball. Exactly, I feel like I've got whiplash.
Yes.
So,
yeah, you know, I was born super sensitive, so all of this has been really crazy on my physical body, for one. And my thought process is not, you know, the normal, so there's a lot of it that I'm like, you know, I see the division, I see the, you know, the separation. And what I've noticed is that people who, like Charlie Ward says, don't have their moral compass in alignment, they're bouncing around like they don't even know what to do or who to follow or who to, they don't have any reference points of truth for themselves. So part of what I do with the galactic coding is to help people find their authentic purpose, so they know exactly what their truth is. But like Nadine said, with the separation, there's like, well, I'm in the US, and so there is such a, it's like black and white, either it's pro-Trump or against Trump, and I've never seen anything like this. It's crazy. It's insane. But I've had to do a lot of inner work and meditations and bringing myself back to center so I don't get caught up in that ping pong pinball machine thing, because it literally I go from I can't sleep to now I want to sleep all the time, or can't sleep at night, we'll sleep in the day, and it's like, yeah. Nuts.
Yeah, I completely relate. Like last night, I hardly had any sleep, and I can really, like this afternoon around 3 o'clock, I'm like, do I have to do this at 5? Because all I want to do is just go and lie down and close my eyes. I am so exhausted, and you know, and also with it's very challenging. I know in the US at the moment, and the whole world is literally standing, you know, behind Trump. Of course, these are the, you know, us pro-Trump, and who sees beyond all of the false flags, red flags that Charlie's talking about. And for me, the biggest thing is to see the division that's taking place. But I don't only see the division that's happening, you know, black or white, or Trump or Biden or whatever, but I also see it in this arena, and that is starting to concern me when I'm seeing the people attacking each other. You know, you're a truther and I'm a spiritualist, and there's this labels and divisions that's been created when we all basically spirit having a human body, and we're all doing God's work. Doesn't matter on what level we perceive each other to do it. And so that type of division is where I feel you know, the voice needs to be really loud. Like, we are all one. We are not divided. So Dan and Jenny, my beautiful sister from New Zealand, and I just love when she shares, because she's going to calm me right down, bringing everything into the body.
No pressure.
Thank you, beautiful people. It's 4 a.m. here, so it's pretty cool to be on at this time. I'll keep my eyes open. Thank you. Yeah, look, what's really present for me, I keep coming back to my breath, keep coming into this space, and like really acknowledging the ping pong. I personally call it the pendulum swing. And for me, I'm a body worker. I've worked with thousands and thousands of bodies over many lifetimes. And part of that is like me sitting in my own space and recognizing the part of me that knows myself well on this lifetime, and the part of me that knows me from a couple of 1,000-year perspective, which gives my experience now a sense of stability. And it's like when we're able to remember and know that we've been here for a really long time, and we have the entire breadth of the pendulum swing in our own experience, that for me is essential. So people often say, oh, you know, you're so light, and how you are in the world. And hand on heart, yes, I comfort the disturbed, and I disturb the comfortable. So I own my knife edge. I own that part of me that swings into both ends of the spectrum. I'm not looking at it out there until I can meet that in the fabric of my own being. And this is the challenge. This is the challenge, to see what triggers there are in the Facebook world, and what shadowy behaviors we're seeing out there, and go deeper. and to go, what's the agenda that's sitting in that? It's not pro-life at its deepest form. It's not pro-love. It's not pro-consciousness. And go in even deeper. What is that deeper agenda that is running underneath that? And then find that place within me. Where is that? Where is that little edge? If my back's against the wall, if I'm fighting for my life, when would I turn and employ that end of my own pendulum swing? So it's been fascinating to work with people's bodies, actually bring them to that place where they meet that within themselves, and watch how reality reconfigures in their world. Watch how they are suddenly having deep impact in their world, as opposed to fighting against beautiful mirrors of themselves. So yeah, everyone's at the moment in the mirror fighting and hating on their own reflections. So it's pretty cool to watch. Thank you, Nirvana.
Thank you
I'll
so
pass
much.
it over to Dan.
Yes,
I just have
Dan.
to say, we didn't actually plan to end up wearing the same colours like his and hers. So at 4 in the morning, you don't coordinate. So we've actually unified the fabric of what we're wearing today.
And even this, it's only when we looked in the screen on Zoom, it was like, oh, we've got the same thing going on here as well.
Yeah.
So lovely to be here, everybody. To follow on from Jenny, I see my space is very much as a very emotional feeling man. I guess I do actually feel a lot of breadth. And this has been my journey, carrying on from Jenny and tying it into that, has been as Janie said, you know, this energy fluctuation I've had of being so exhausted 1 second and then just wanting to do something and thinking I've got to do something, and then 1 minute I've wanted to just cry. I'm so just feeling the whole energy of what's going on, and then I want to roar. And it's been this roller coaster ride, and it's almost, my journey has been learning to sit with myself and be with myself and accept myself through all of this, and love myself during it. And so it has been very useful for me in a way, having discussions with people, as you mentioned, and not falling out with them. You know, the key has been to have conversations with people about things and sharing stuff and remaining in a place of love with them. And I've done that a few times. And many times I haven't achieved that. You know, I've actually fallen out with people, almost like that pendulum swing of 1 minute kind of wanting to love and help, and then thinking, you don't know nothing. You know nothing. You idiot. How can you not see it so obvious?
Yeah.
And that's been my journey of not judging them and just remaining in that place of love. And I have to bring her over. She was shouting, "Oh, bring me in. I'm a dog trainer."
We're not sure, baby.
Yes, I know.
Oh, there you go. That's her. This is my beautiful dog.
Charlie Freak would absolutely love that. Your background is that's a little bit visible, but
And her
she's
message
beautiful.
was always this:
Charlie,
be here now and experience love. And that is the challenge.
that's
The
unconditional.
essence of the challenge is to be here in these conversations and somehow keep that open heart. So yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dan, and lovely to meet you. Charlie Freak, can you hear us? Wonderful. So if I could ask you, we've started the conversation literally about how this whole thing that's been going on is happening so fast, and I use the terminology of feeling like a pinball ball in the old mechanical pinball machines. Those of us that's on this side of 50 will know what I'm talking about. and really feels like, you know, like you're this way, that way, and then flip this way, and it's just happening so fast. And just wanted to get your input as to your, you know, you speak so eloquently about staying within the center and casting thy net to the right and in a stand. I love your language so beautifully. So give us a little bit of perspective on this turbulence that we are in.
Yeah, there's so many people, because it's the role they've chosen to play. And there's, of course, always two choices. There's the choice to the right and choice to the left. And that's right hemisphere of the brain, left hemisphere of the brain. Everything is that. It is when we don't know ourselves, we don't know this, and we're disconnected from ourselves. Therefore, we're disconnected from the truth. When we're disconnected from the truth, like we have been for 100 years, and probably a lot longer, but certainly the last 100 years profoundly, then we're easily played. And then, of course, your analogy of pinball is a great one. And that takes us back to Pete Townsend and the Who. Pete, every single song that, you know, people think the Who were this, you know, big rock band and stuff. Every single song Pete wrote was about this personal ascension and about the ascension of man to the right hemisphere of the brain, the connection to God. And Pinball Wizard, one of the best songs ever written, that's exactly what he's talking about. You can either be the mechanical ball, bing, 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 and bumping into everything, or you can be that deaf, dumb, and blind kid. He sure plays a mean pinball, and he's got those subtle wrists, and that is the subtle wrist of the subtle body. I had somebody say to me the other day about, you know, you speak about the Ida and the Pingala and the Shoshumna in such a way that you make it sound like it's all real. And ultimately, I think you're doing a disservice to people, because if you look inside the body, it's not there. And I said, that's crazy. That's crazy. Have you ever had a thought? Have you ever had a memory? Can you look inside and show me exactly where that thought or that memory is? And yet you know with 100% degree of accuracy that thought and memory exists. So there is the physical mechanical body, and there is the subtle body. And this is the right brain and the left brain. And I heard some of the comments from others here already this morning. And essentially you're sharing the same gnosis as well, which is, there's a group of people which represents 99.9% of everyone, including the truth community as well. And they see everything from a left brain perspective. And as such, it's I don't like that work because it's getting more attention than my work. And I don't like that guy because he has 150,000. I didn't hear anybody complaining about Charlie Ward when Charlie had 77 subscribers, but when Charlie has 150,000 subscribers, suddenly he can't go anywhere without, you know, nets and traps and bombs being dropped all around him. So what you just have to do is, with this knowingness from the right perspective, is see that that's simply the case. And all we can do as the true bodhisattvas, there have to be some that do the inner work, that connect to God, that tap into these Akashic records and come to know what we know, and then come back and share it. Because if we don't come back and share it with patience and with love and with acceptance, then nobody will. And they're just going to go around and around and around and around the wheel forever and ever. So the biggest thing about what we're doing here, and so many others that aren't here today, is we're taking the time from a higher perspective. Doesn't mean we're better at all. It just means that we've gained a higher perspective. You have to elevate to be able to see more. When you're on the valley floor, this is where everybody finds themselves, and they're in a panic because they can't see past, they can't see 6 feet in front of them, because everywhere you look, there's an obstruction. You go up 6 feet and you go past most obstructions. You go up 100 feet and you're as free as a bird. And this is where we have to be. We have to ascend. That's why there are, 33 vertebrae of the spine, and they're stacked upon each other. It's a ladder. It's Jacob's ladder. And, you know, again, it's called Jacob's ladder because in Genesis, in the Bible, what did Jacob do? He left behind all of his possessions across the river, okay? Left behind his family. His family is a metaphor, whether that's a literal story or not, you know, you can have at it, whatever you want to believe. The Bible is not a history book. All of these ancient scriptures are not history books. They are alchemical masterpieces. This is science and mathematics at a level that most people will never even come to scratch the surface at. They're so in depth and so perfect, and the breadth of their understanding. And when Jacob leaves his family behind, he's leaving his physical possessions. And we must do that. This is attachment to the clothes that you wear, or how does my hair look today, or these things don't matter. They don't matter at all. What matters is the work. This is the work. If people don't ever come to know the mind, and most people don't even understand that there's a difference between the mind and the brain. The brain is not the mind, and the mind is not the brain. Your mind is the seat of your soul. That's the third ventricle of your brain. And it's everything. It unites two worlds, above and below. And this is the middle earth. We live on the middle plane that divides above and below. And that's how most people see life. And that's how most people accept what they've been told with an out there perspective, which is the Luciferian agenda. Anyone who's selling you the idea that there'll always be someone to come and save you, that is a Luciferian agenda. At the end of the day, no matter what, even with President Trump and what he's doing and the Q team, all they can do is give us a chance to get out of the victim mode, a chance to get out of despair, and a chance to cling to hope and then build that hope into a knowingness. Because when you know, then nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you. And the knowingness is the truth. And the truth is God's creation. And God's creation is eternal. There is nothing to worry about. And there's nothing to fear ever. But try and tell that to 99.9% of the populace, the masses. So that's what we're doing. That's what we have to do here, is continue to rise above. Charlie and I just got skewered again yesterday by some guy, don't even know who he is. And you just have to, you know, love them and know that eventually, you know, they'll get this and they'll ascend, and then they'll see where they've been wrong. And we just have to keep doing the work. You just have to keep sharing this message.
Absolutely, Charlie. I can't agree with you more, Charlie. And I just want to get on to Jesse quickly and give him a moment before we open up the floor, just doing kind of get an energy feel of each person. So there you are, Jesse, my fellow South African, and so glad to have you here. The question that I have for you amongst this pinball effect, and I particularly experienced that after I listened to your conversation with V, which really floored me. And I'm like, okay, I thought it was this, now it's this, and I'm just like, oh my God, you know, what is going on, and how do we you know, it's the cabal is doing this, and it's their agenda, and no, it's we saving the children, and at the end of the day, as you know, as a fellow South African, our people are starving, and there's many people all over the world that are starving, obviously, but you were mentioning something around 1666 to 1665, 66, that this happened before, and the agenda around that. So if you can kind of just, you know, give us an introduction into that, and so that we can have a feeling of what you're about.
Cool, great. So it's going to be a very practical conversation. And I think just an interesting anecdote, or it's so important that we look back in our history. It's absolutely critically important. And Charlie was saying that the Bible is a book about mathematics, and it is, and all sorts of amazing stuff, but it's also like 70% about political and geopolitical situations. And, you know, there's a lot to be learned about what exactly the cultural dynamics of, you know, history were like. And it's so critically important that we really, really comprehend our past in order to figure out how to effectively proceed forward into our future. So an interesting thing is in 1666, essentially that was when the bubonic plague as well as London's Great Fire happened, and the SSKV Act, which is essentially was a consolidation of power through the Birth Certificate Act. And if we go back to 6,000 years, we've got the start of the Sumerian era, the start of civilization that we know of before, after the Great Deluge flood. So in that time, 6,000 years ago, every single planet in our solar system was in direct alignment. And now 6,000 years later, in the 21st of December, they're going to be in absolute direct alignment again, which essentially signifies the end of civilization as you know it. 4000 BC, roundabouts in the time of the Great Crusades, after the civilization was just newly formed, the cabal, whoever, the powers that be that have always been here, this is ancient power that lives many lifetimes, far more than normal humans do, and had used the Sumerian era as a leap board to essentially divide the people through religion at the point of the Great Crusades. And in that exact time, the Great Crusades, Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn were in direct alignment. Now, that same planetary conjunction is happening this year. So you're in an unbelievable time to be alive right now. In 2012, you had the 26,000 year precession of the Great Equinox, the Great Year, where our solar system has literally gone to the other side of our galaxy in its completion of a 26,000 year cycle, which is essentially exposing us to gamma ray radiation. We're literally moving from the dark into the light. Now that's a 26,000 year cycle, but in between that long cycle, there are short cycles. And these short cycles also give us a very good idea as to what exactly it is that's happening right now. So in the 6,000 year cycle, you know, you're still alive also to be able to experience a 6,000 year cycle and very similar cycles that took time in the Great Crusades in 1666. Now in 1666, all this division, because essentially the cabal couldn't divide God, but they could divide God's people. And they created all this division, and now they'd gotten to the point where they needed to consolidate all this power across the world. And how they did that, the SSKV Act and more modern methods of population control, essentially. So in 1666, it was Mars, Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. So Mars was the other planet of war. And a whole lot of other crazy stuff happened in 66 that I'm not going to get into. I'm just keeping it to the planetary stuff. And essentially, the three of those planets are also returning. They have returned in March this year and October, November this year, as well as on the 21st of December, which is the end of a 6,000 year cycle. So this is an unbelievably rare moment, cosmologically speaking, in time. And if we look at 1666, we see that each one of those events where these planets went into conjunction, there was either the destruction and the birth of a civilization or a new phase within regards to civilization's evolution. So now we've gotten to the point where literally from a cosmological point of view, there is a great reset and it's imminent. You were speaking about knowing earlier, you got to know this. The reset is imminent. Now, we know this. The question is, what, you know, because it's easy to bring down a system. In fact, the universe is making it happen itself, right? And we also focus on solutions of how to actually deconstruct governments in a smooth way, to have a smooth transitionary model to preserve as little collateral damage as possible. Because what's happening now is you're going to see one way or another a time where we get to choose which side it is exactly we're on within regards to not only our thoughts and our beliefs, but our actions. Because we're going into an unbelievably critically important point in time, this reset that is imminent. It's unavoidable. And as JP Morgan said, millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. Okay, so this cabal has been watching this all along. Now, in 1666, there was a bubonic plague, as I said. So, and they also had contact tracing. As well as contact tracing, they had lockdowns and social distancing. So there's a potentiality that on an electromagnetic level, it's causing some sort of turbulent distortion within our natural circadian rhythm that it subsequently results in us getting the flu or getting some sort of flu or some sort of sickness. So there is that link between this. So these guys knew this was happening. And now we're in a situation where there's a lot of game players. Thankfully, Trump happens to be one of them. But the truth is that the real game players are us, because Trump is just a catalyzing event. That is, and it's cosmological. It's not on Earth. I don't actually see a lot of people speaking about what's actually happening with Trump. and it gets a bit crazy, and I don't know if I should get into it there, but this is an exopolitical issue, and there's an obligation to help facilitate this reset, okay? But the point is that, as I said, it's easy for things to be destroyed, but the real interesting part is when things need to be created from the ground up. This is a crucial point in time where with this reset, what will happen, the precedents, we will set the precedents of what happens over the next 6,000 years within regards to the critical actions and choices we make now. Now's the time where we have to really consider the fact we want true freedom, right? That's what we're leading towards. We're ultimately leading towards true freedom. Common law and all of this stuff, it's unavoidable. The truth can't be hidden. It's impossible. But true freedom comes with a cost, and those costs are responsibility and accountability. Now, we really, really remember, guys, our evolution as a civilization. I don't want to use the word because civil means Roman, but anyway, our evolution as a civilization is critically important right now but it's been suppressed, unbelievably so. And because it's been so suppressed, we're going to have to catch a damn wake up within the level of, number one, learning and the level of proactivity and the innovation we provide in what it is that we came here to do. We're here at an unbelievably rare point in time. So every single choice and action from this point is critically important. Now, you're speaking about a ping pong machine. For me, it's not a ping pong machine because it's all right now, because the Earth's overall electromagnetic energy is super accelerating. This is why we're seeing what we're seeing, because matter, the solid state of matter is becoming more malleable and more hyperchangeable on a scientific level, observably, right? So what this means is that the veil between our consciousness and physicality is thinning, like unbelievably so, day by day by day by day by day. And now we're getting to the point at a critical accumulation of this energy combined with interplanetary energies. So, of course, there are tough times we do have to go through. I mean, for those of you that don't know, I created an organization called Earth United. And for me, it embodies what's happening now on a consciousness level, because consciousness will transcend itself through each and every single aspect of reality. Media, food, choices, so forth and so on, interests, conversations, so forth and so on. So, sorry, completely forgot what I was saying. It's on such a roll. But the point is, I created an organization, and this organization for me is the perfect embodiment of this energetic change that's taking place right now. Because this energetic change is super accelerating the vibrational level and frequency of all energy, which is hyper accelerating the moment-to-moment particle configurations. That's why right now reality is so eventful. It's extremely eventful because the distance between our consciousness and these physical configurations that are taking place moment by moment are super accelerating. So I don't see it as a pinball if you have this knowledge, because then you comprehend that you have the ability to step within the realm of your own energy. Now, this is really, really important, especially for those that are at their level in spiritual evolution and conscious psychological evolution, because this is really where the metal hits the road. And it really requires us to be practical, but not only be practical, but essentially open ourselves up to this higher realm of ourselves and this higher realm of reality right now. And that higher realm is choice, because at every single moment in time, you have the choice to decide which reality it is you prefer to exist in, by using your emotions as a way to time travel through experiences. So yes, things are going to get tough. That's absolutely true. Why? Because thoughts are hyper accelerating. Thoughts are super accelerating, right? So whether so right now is an unbelievably crucial time to make sure that you're doing everything in your ability to essentially go as deep as you can in yourself and religiously do it, so that you really start training this into your 24-hour daily practice and ideological mindset. Because right now, we need to come up with extremely smart solutions, and we need to collaborate, communicate, and work in a way that we've never done before. So everyone wants to see the world, crumble, but what people do not seem to comprehend, and that what's not being spoken about, is the fact that we're gonna have to go into war-grade production. We're moving from consumers into producers, because we have to, in destroying the old world, we have to now build the whole new world. And part of building the new world comes down with really considering each and every single aspect. and coming together as a collective with all these puzzle pieces coming together of all these different viewpoints that have essentially cross-questioned and cross-referenced exactly on a collective level. How is it that we want to design our reality going forward? Because you have to think of many different things. You're talking about socio-economic change, you know, and the thing is, yes, Trump's opening up the doorway, common law's imminent, Jasara Nasara, etc., so forth and so on. But what we're truly heading into is true freedom. And what true freedom comes with, it's going to come with an unbelievably new realm of a reality that you're going to be experiencing. Why? Because no one alive right now has ever experienced true freedom. So you're talking about extremely new and revolutionary models, required self-governing models that collectives can choose, because it's all about choice. This is what we're going into. We're super accelerating into the reality of choice. And now you've been given the chance to choose where it is exactly you want to go. So with this freedom that will come with common law and this imminent, you know, we're slaves. As long as there's birth certificates and so forth and so on, and all this illusion and delusion, we are essentially slaves. So what's happening now is we're in a very pivotal point in time where, you know, there is a potentiality that we could set the precedent to continue slavery for the next 6,000 years. That is out there, that is on the table. Because
Jesse, I'm gonna just stop you for a sec. No worries, no worries. I could listen to you for hours, as you know. You have such incredible, poignant information. I do want to go to Charlie Ward because I know that he's also got limited time. He's got a little bit of time left, but before we go, I just have to smile at Jesse using the word imminent. I was involved for probably 4 years with an organization called Swazindo, God, Sky, Earth, which was about bringing value back to humanity. It's an Indonesian gentleman called Sugiarto Torogono, try and say that 10 times, and went to Indonesia and was really spending time with bringing, you know, the birth certificates and bringing back value to humanity, like Jasara Nasara. And for 4 years, we had to hear this word imminent. So that, I just smiled when I hear you saying imminent. So, Jesse, we're going to get back to you. Charlie, anything that you would like to add? And before, I just open it up to you, I just want to get back to my other screen. So there's been a gentleman, I think you might have spoken about him, Paladin. I think his YouTube channel is called The White Hats. And he had quite a lot to say about you, Charlie Ward and Charlie Freak, and this is what we are talking about, correct, with people trying to kind of attack each other in a way, or discredit each other in a way, which is not helping the status quo. What we are wanting to do, people that are out there trying to tell the truth and have a space for each one of us to have a voice.
There's an awful lot of jealousy out there. Hi, Charlie Freak, lovely to see you. Love to Colleen. There's a lot of jealousy out there. I never expected on this journey to go from 37 subscribers up to 170,000 on one channel, 25 on another, and 25 on another. It's been unbelievable. I couldn't have expected that at all. And there's a lot of jealousy out there. There's a lot of people who've got things to say. But look, I'm on my 4th wife, so I'm used to getting sniped at from different angles. I've got bulletproof body. They can say what they like. I don't read the positive comments or the negative comments. I just carry on delivering a message and doing my research. What people have to say, opinions are like arseholes. That's what we say in Europe. Everyone's got one, and some are a bit more ugly than others. You have to focus on the truth. Do you know, I've learned a massive lesson this week. Everything that was evil, that was gone, everything that's going, is underground. It's the children in the tunnels. The operating system of the banking was underground. All of this thing is underground. We're now moving, and Charlie Freak just mentioned it, we're ascending, the Great Awakening. As Jesse Perez Casanova said, we're coming into a new area, it's imminent. We're elevating ourselves so that everything we come from, there was a lovely statement made earlier, we're now starting to, forget imminent, it's already happening. We're starting to look down. We haven't got to the top yet, but we're starting to look down because the new systems are operated, the new quantum financial system is by Starlink. That's not underground. That's overground. That's out in the way out there somewhere. Who knows where? But we're moving up, and that's one of the biggest things I've noticed this week. Everything in the past was down, is dirty, was underground. Everything that we're moving into is elevated, above, in the heavens, in the sky, wherever you want to say it is. But that's the biggest thing I've noticed this week. That everything that we're moving into is up. Is elevated, is awakening, is uplifting, is arising. We're arising into a new era. We're not going down into a new era. We're leaving what's down underground behind, and we're moving into something absolutely beautiful. And I do apologize for having to leave you guys early, because I've got a stand-up speech here to 120 people in Spain, which I'd committed to as well.
No worries.
But it's been an absolute pleasure to see you all and to hear. And it's the first time I'd seen Jenny and Dan, and I loved what you were both saying earlier. It was absolutely pure, and I love that. It's very, very important that all of us, not one of us, let's look for the positive in every single person, not the negative. If you wanted to find the negative in me, you wouldn't have to look too far. I've got a very checkered past, and I don't regret a minute of it, because it's part of my journey to where I am today.
Absolutely.
I've had a real rough ride, but that's what's made me the man I am today.
Mm. Totally. Thank you very much, Charlie. And one of the things, like Jessie had said, is important that we need to start looking at self-sustainability. And one of my passions, as many of you know who knows me, is that I love growing my own stuff. I've got my medicine in my garden. If I am feeling a scratchy nose or a headache, or I go into my garden and I pick a few things and I make myself a muti. And at the moment, I've got about 12 egg boxes full of little seedlings, and that's my passion, is to really start growing and knowing that if I can share with others. And if we all have just the door space anywhere that we can grow, and this will help this period that we are going through, that until we pop out on the other side. And for me, the passion is that we are grassroots level, and that we are looking at and how we can help people at the moment that are still stuck, still struggling, still looking for, the grocer or the government or somebody to be assisting them. I'd like to open the floor to all of my panel, and if Dan, or Jenny, if you've got a question for Charlie or for Jenny or for Nadine, and for Jessie, please go ahead and do so. Anybody who'd like to share anything.
If no one's going to jump in, I'll just quickly segue here. Again, it all comes back to when you read all of the ancient scriptures, all of them, they all say the exact same thing. There's a singular narrative that is continually being presented to us. And that narrative is that when you know thyself, you are the richest person in the world. You are the richest being. And the wealth, the true wealth of this world, is so beautifully and eloquently said again in all of these various artifacts of various cultures, are all saying is that the true artifacts of this world are the artifacts within. And when we collect them, we offer them in penitence and humility to the Father, because that is the true gift. And organized religion has existed for as long as mankind has existed, however long that is. And I think it's been a long time. And they exist to besmirch this simple and pure and beautiful message. And that there is always a choice. There's always the way, and there's always the wrong way. And you just have to make the right choice. The right choice is the right way. Everything about our lives is structured that way, whether you're in Australia, New Zealand, or in Mexico. The choice is always to make is the right one, and casting thy net to the right. So when you see the world through this Luciferian agenda, that the answers lie out there somewhere. I mean, you have to see this. Everyone who's listening, I know everyone on the panel knows this, but everyone who's listening in, you need to open your mind and you need to see this through your mind's eye. And that is that there is a singular narrative out there. And that is that everything exists. It's already been made. There's nothing you can do about it. There's infinite problems everywhere, and now with different solar systems and galaxies, there's problems in this gamma quadrant, and there's problems, and they're so big and they've been around for so long that there's nothing you can do. The best you can do is to live your little life and try and do your best. And no. This nonsense has to absolutely stop. You are the center of all things, and we, mankind, are the pinnacle of God's creation. For whatever reason, as incredible as that seems, when we're drinking Coca-Cola, eating Dorito chips and watching The Simpsons, it's staggering that we would be the pinnacle of God's creation, but we are. And as incredible as the body is, and it, of course, there's a dualistic aspect to everything in the body as well. So there's a physical body and you have your subtle body as well. But the mind, the skull, which it would be the reference, the allegory for the higher realm, heaven upon earth, is the head, heave to the heap of the head, heaven. They're all the same word. They're all the same word, which is to exalt up to the Father, to achieve this ascension.
Yeah.
And that is the choice that all of us have. And the thing is that when you begin to calm yourself, when you begin to distance yourself from the out there, turn off your TVs, turn off the radio. There'll come a time again when beautiful gnosis is flowing through, but now is not the time. All knowledge, everything exists in a single moment. There is no such thing as linear time. It's an agreed upon construct to play this linear game and the material plane. All that exists is the now. And when you see that, you've won. Dark to light. Now, reverse one. You've won when you live in the now. And that's what we must do. We must transcend all of the nonsense and the BS in the world out there. You are the power. You are the light. You are the way. Jesse and I had the most incredible, Josh X, Jesse, these conversations that I have with at this level I can't wait for Jesse to release the podcast. It's going to blow people away. It just went everywhere it needed to go, and it was all way up here. And in that podcast, that's what we were just talking about, is this ability to see through the mind's eye. And when you see through the mind's eye, there is no fear. There is no doubt. There is no weakness. There's strength, because you're connected to the strength of all. And when you see that you are eternal, when you begin to learn about yourself and scalar waves and magnetism, isn't it incredible that right now it's all about Nikola Tesla and returning to Tesla, a man who believed in God, a man who believed in the firmament, who knew magnetism was 1,000,000 times more powerful than electricity. And scalar waves are often called Tesla waves because he saw that they were the eternal age.
Is very important. We basically are speaking to the converted. I know it, Nadine know it, we all know that. But yet there is still the, if I cut myself, I bleed, I always say. I know, especially in South Africa, we have got enormous amount of farm killings that is going on. Hey, Jesse and Nadine. I mean, people are absolutely starving over here. And I'm not, forgetting about other parts of the world. I can only really speak where my heart is, which is in Africa. And of course, my heart is with humanity. But here we're dealing with people that doesn't know what we know, that doesn't even have the language to even perceive what you are talking about. How are we, and I'm going to maybe give that to Jesse if it's okay, how are we going to bring that home?
Approach it.
How are we going to bring that home to people that are
great. So everyone switched on, amazing, excellent. We're in a big, beautiful family of light warriors. Now all the light warriors are assembling. Now it's time for the light warriors to start getting very smart and constructive and serious about what it is that is required to take place. And fortunately enough, that inevitably will happen because it's in our nature to do that, right? So I encounter these sort of obstacle courses in thoughts on a day-to-day basis because I'm always contemplating how to figure this out in the best way. So for those of you that don't know, I created an organization called Earth United. And as I was saying, for me, it represents what spirit is bringing, which is harmony, unity, collaboration, and, creation. So it was also just a simple idea that we're stronger together. Okay, these Satanists and all these bad guys and so forth and so on, the difference between, I guess, them and us is that they're way more organized, like way more organized. And, these guys take their shit seriously. Like they take their religion more serious than any other religious person. Anyway, so I created an organization because we have to come up with smart solutions. Okay. And I love smart solutions because we are living in a time where we really are taking a leap forward into the future. So a lot of the stuff that's going to be coming about and that people are working on are beyond our current level of suppression that's taken place because of the programming that's taken place because of these monarchs and empires and beings that have actually been controlling us over all of this time. You know, I've had some unbelievable experiences lately that have shown me some very, very interesting things. And what I've been doing essentially is I've been connecting everyone all over the world. I'm just going to share with you with what I'm doing in order to ensure things like food security and a peaceful transition with as little collateral damage as possible, because that's really what it is that we're faced with. So, you know, it's one thing, you know, essentially invalidating the government under the basis of constructed fraud, the birth certificate fraud, and essentially invalidating all of the activities. Because remember, Trump is doing America and this and that. And yes, it will reverberate through the world, but it's going to be up to each region to really, really take it so serious as to how it is that they proceed forward as collective consensus. Because as I said to you, true freedom's coming. What does true freedom come with? Choice. What sort of choices? What community am I part of? Every single choice that benefits myself in this community, and etc., so forth and so on. Because what we're moving away from is society towards community. Okay, society is this private society, which are these private corporations, which are these private corporations you call your governments. Okay, they operate in a societal system. It's a top-down, authoritative decision-making process, and that's all we've known. That's all we're used to. But what it took us away from, and even in Africa here, my fellow African brothers and sisters, and my ancestors as well, what they've taken us away from is community. Okay, we're going to speak about this on a very simplistic level. We can speak about ascension and all this thing, but this is why the Bible is so interesting, because it has stories about how certain communities operated. Do you get what I'm saying? And to do with law and so forth and so on. So 70% of it is socioeconomic history. Do you know what I mean? So now we're at this point where in South Africa, for instance, so what I've done is I've collected people from all over the world. It's a very simple strategy, but very smart, because it is so simple. And all it entailed was creating a platform, a central meeting point for all different organizations, individual experts, public figures, influencers, so forth and so on, to come together in all sorts of different varying fields, agriculture, therapy, etc., so forth and so on. I mean, I'll give you an idea. We got all these human trafficking that's going to end in all of this. You know, what happens to all those kids? They need to go through therapy. There's so much stuff that needs to be done that we haven't even considered. And I know we haven't really considered it, because when I go out on the internet, I don't see people speaking about, you know, what is it that we're actually going to do? It's more so about information this, information that. So what we do as myself and as an organization is focus on what we can touch and hold. And common law is one of those things. We've forgotten the most major important thing is that us as a man have the right to actually get together and hold our own court within our own jurisdiction and get justice where we see fit. That is a biblical principle. Do you get what I'm saying? That till this day, law carries. But it's so simple, it's so easy, yet nobody knows they have that right and ability. So now we're in a position where, you know, people like Trump and this and that, great, yeah, awesome, guys, woo, okay, but guys, your region needs to be taken care of, okay? So, you know what, so it's very interesting the conversations I found myself in, because I end up speaking essentially to all the guys that have essentially answered the call to being some of the guys that are working on pioneering some of these ways of doing things. Because we're...
Jesse, can I just ask you, sorry, do you know Brother Thomas?
He's very... Yes, yes. So in South Africa, it's a very interesting climate. So as I've said, in South Africa, you know, it was interesting because when I started this campaign, I actually made more connections all over the world initially. And I didn't think of South Africa because you know how tense the South African landscape is, correct? Okay, so I didn't really start here. And what happened is I gained local attention because of my international efforts. And then all of a sudden, you know, just meditating every day and being in this flow of energy, like you don't understand the unbelievable sequence of events that I experience on a day-to-day basis, because it is a very ambitious task. But I really wouldn't be doing it unless we believed we could do it. But what's amazing about being in tune with this synchronistic intuition is that it put all the South African puzzle pieces together. Okay, because I wasn't sure about South Africa's ability to be at the forefront of dismantling this satanic government and essentially remodeling the way of life going forward. And, you know, because, as you said, we've got the illiteracy rates, we've got the 30% unemployment, we've got a whole lot of extremes, and that was before the lockdown. We've got a whole lot of very extreme socio-economic conditions. So it's not as easy as just like, okay, cool, yeah, we're taking out the government, cheers. You know, you got to think about so much stuff. I mean, food security, for instance, like if one thing goes wrong and it's not a transitional, because you can't just switch systems. It won't happen that way. It needs to be a smooth transition out process. And fortunately enough, I've been put together with all these key players, Brother Thomas, as you just mentioned, these guys in the South African General Assembly, and all these other guys that have actually created their own financial systems, backboard currencies. So it's actually crazy. And also Dr. Peter Munns, he has for the last 20 years been working on essentially a transitional governance model, right? The point is that South Africa surprised the daylights out of me, because to answer your question, how are you going to do it with the people here? Okay, the Zulu tribes and these kingdoms have already been practicing this sort of idea, right? It's even imbued within South Africa's law system, right? But so essentially we have, and I shouldn't be saying much, but we are literally cooperating with kings here, Zulu kings, Zulu tribes, elders, even like there's big stuff going down in South Africa, essentially is what it is that I'm saying. And now it's actually gotten to the point where I've realized, holy crap, I mean, because, you know, Australia's looking strong, Canada's looking strong, the UK is like kind of there, you know, with people that are actually coming together in a consolidated way to have these public court proceedings and actually go ahead and do this. But South Africa surprised the daylights out of me, and it's funny because last year I had a dream, okay? I had a dream that I was getting shown a map, and I had no body, and it was just a map covering everywhere, but this map was of South Africa. And there was these beings basically essentially telling me that this is a very important place right now. There's going to be huge growth, and we're at the spiritual epicenter and whatever. And at the time, you know, that was in November, you know, it didn't really click and make sense. But now doing what I'm doing, you know, we're literally working towards lawfully disenfranchising these private corporations you call governments. It's a very ambitious task. And I know I'm rambling on right now but that's why I'm here. I'm not here for any other reason other to reach out to everyone and make you understand the seriousness of this. And so that, because it requires all the support in the world.
Brother Thomas and I worked together with a whole group of people for probably about 3 years, and he's an amazing, intelligent person. So going on to Dan and Jenny, just, you know, if you want to step in and share your feelings around our conversation.
Thanks, Jesse. There was a part where I was just taken to, because I hear a lot of what you're saying and I agree, and then there's this other part of me which goes, I was feeding the chickens. Let me tell you the story. I was feeding our chickens, and I've got all this stuff in my head about what I want to share and do and all my business side of things, and I'm feeding the chickens and I'm throwing them the food, and I'm watching these little chickens come towards me, and they're pecking. And in that moment, I almost felt so connected to everything. I could feel the life force of these chickens. And there's a part of me, it's actually that masculine and feminine for me, is the masculine, like the nothingness of just sitting there watching, going, I could watch these chickens forever. There was nothing happening. I was just sat there, crouched down on my honkers in this dirty garage with a few chickens pecking away. And then, so that was the masculine, the finish, the finality of just nothingness, which was so beautiful. And then the feminine energy of the life force of these little beings. And I felt them both, that masculine and the feminine, the stillness and the silence, and the beauty and the joy of the feminine life force energy of these beings. I felt so connected to them, and I wanted to be there. I felt like I could sit there forever watching them. And there was a part of me said, this is also so important, that whilst all this chaos is going on, I'm drawn to the nature behind us, which obviously isn't really here. But it's so important to be able to stay connected to the beauty of the whole universe.
Absolutely.
Bring in that love of whether it's a rainbow or a drip of water or a piece of bread.
And you know what's great about what you just said is that because, you know, our souls are here at an unbelievably crucial time. We've chosen to come here. You're right now, your consciousness and your imagination and your full comprehension of what your life has in store for you is not exactly as, you know, because as you grow, your creativity grows and the level of information you receive grows. So we're in a position now where it is the most unbelievable privilege to participate like you can't believe. And it's never been an easier time, because when you do exactly what you've just said, connect to nature, you allow yourself to essentially connect to the clarity and this high level of consciousness that is required in order to effectively and peacefully, you don't want to throw yourself into the madness. Trust me, I know, like I deal with the craziest stuff like you can't imagine. Like my life's at risk basically, okay? But besides that, it's not really at risk because I comprehend the fact that my consciousness right now more than ever is completely creating my reality. And connecting to that spirit and that pure level of consciousness is so important with the world we're going towards now. And I believe you'll see reflections of all this godly stuff coming through the minds of man, because now they're connecting to God. Now they're connecting to the infinite information and universe more than ever. And all of a sudden, all these next generation solutions and ways of doing things, because that's what's going to happen. You're talking about self-governing models where people are going back to communities as opposed to societies, where it's everyone has a choice and everyone has the voice. And all of a sudden, now it's not just the government that's in the way of things that can be done for the greater good of all, with all the red tape they put in the way, tax and monopolization of us and energy resources and so forth and so on. So now we're literally, everything's coming back into our hands. We are restoring law and the world into our hands. So then the question is, you know, you have to be peaceful in order to really have so much clarity in connecting with spirit and using that to help you decide what to do with what is going to be given to you, within regards to the freedom of choice and the expression of your voice, now more than ever.
Thank you, Jessie.
Yeah, Jessie, thank you for that. Like as soon as you kind of slid in the word the Zulu, I was like, right, yeah, I want to speak to that. And there's this ancient knowing that is held in the fabric of the earth, that is held in the fabric of the indigenous people. Some of these places where the song lines have been broken through what they have lived through.
Beautiful.
That energy is just starting to come back in a way where we are remembering how to work with our physical body in community, in the sacred circle again, how we are able to, and this is a really interesting place. It's like at the moment, it's almost unsafe to have an opinion out there. So part of what is safer is for people to be neutral, to be dead. And neutral zone is where there is no charge between the inner masculine and feminine. We're used to having a negative charge between the masculine and feminine, of conflict, of war, of separation, of power over. We're used to that. We've done that for thousands of years. So the energy of what's happening in the ancient knowledge of the tribal way as it's coming back is that we remember the thought process, the inspiration. And we remember that that's an air quality, and we bring it into the body, and we remember to bring it to the fire, to the heart of community. We remember to sit around the fire. We remember to include the masculine, feminine, and the children at the fire. And we bring it through the fire of our passion and our body and our being, and we ignite and we light up on the inside. And then we bring that fire into the emotion, the waters of the body. We bring it into the water principle. And then we frickin' earth it. We land it. We ground it in the ground of our body. We go below the belt. And this is the challenge I find in the light masculine and light feminine, where we get stuck in thought and theory. We have to land it below the belt. We have to bring it down into the ground. We have to meet Mother Earth with that same inspired thought. It's like all of us are wizards and magicians, and it's time to bring the wizards out of the ivory towers and get their feet dirty and get their assholes on the ground so they can open their assholes and they can feel the mother current, the mother tongue running through them and speak from that place in their body. And it's like landing that new way deep into the ground and creating that fabric of reality. I love the Jesse, thank you so much for speaking tribal.
I've got to say one thing. I've got to say one thing quickly. Is I just had the picture of the Zulu warriors chanting and stamping their feet. I can just see these. It's like feathered boots.
It's so funny because that's what's going to be happening.
Stamping their feet on the earth, and that anchors it.
And it's so true. And Jesse, you know, like I hear you speak about community and the going out globally to get. It's like an ignition
to
switch
get that
on,
independence and uniqueness, but to coexist peacefully. You know.
And then bring it back. And that's something Dan and I are really passionate. On our land in New Zealand, we bring together women's circles, men's circles, and then a collective circle of men and women. And they're like freaking cosmic smoke rings leaving the land. We live in the land of the first light, and it is happening here.
Wonderful.
One little thing I want to say quickly is that we are all grievance counselors, essentially. Well, that's what we're going to be in the imminent future, because we've already gone through the dark night of the soul and, you know, essentially finding out, oh my God, I trusted the government. How could they lie to me? You know, the father figure, the betrayal. And, you know, we went through that. It wasn't nice. We're like, what the hell? You know, you've fed us a lie our whole life. And this just isn't great. But now what's happening, because of the super acceleration in events and consciousness and these particular events taking place now, people are getting forced to get to that level. And in them getting forced to that level, the amount of, I guess, realization of, oh my God, I got screwed over so badly, like the biggest betrayal ever, is going to be a lot more intense and a lot more compact, because a lot more learning is happening in a lot shorter time. And inevitably, people are concerned about, you know, the masses and this and that. You really don't have to worry about that, because the whole consciousness of Earth, this is a cosmological thing that's raising the consciousness out of everyone and everything, no matter what.
Thanks.
And yeah.
I want to give Nadine and Janie maybe just a quick opportunity to jump in and share some of their energy with us and feelings. Nadine, would you like to go first?
Okay, you know, after listening to all of you, I write predictive fiction. I was told the stories where we were going during the late 70s, 80s, and I couldn't quite imagine the vision I was shown because I couldn't interpret it. I write about community living. I write about alternative currencies in the form of, we call it talents. And when I met Tim Jerkins, we started the talent exchange, and I believe it is in it is all over the world. It's in New Zealand as well. It's in the UK. I think it's in Australia, where people actually use their talents as currency, and every single person has a talent. Now, I'm writing in a story form because I was told to bring it that way forward, so people can read through a story.
I'd love to read that.
And, you know, people sometimes email me and say, but this feels so true. Well, yes, it is, because we are actually living it. And the characters are interacting with what we are happening today. Yeah, they feel all that, and you all describe it. And I'm actually amazed that I could write this like in the 80s and 90s, when there was no internet, when there was nothing like this. But it's still all there. And like Charlie said, it all actually already happened.
Please share that book, by the way. Sorry.
Huh?
I'd love to read that book.
Well, it's called The Reality Shifters. That's number one.
The Reality Shifters. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Okay,
I'll
Jane.
share all the links with you. Janie, would share some energy, and then Charlie Freak. You've been very quiet. I see you sitting writing lots of notes
I've been
there.
very loud. He's been very quiet.
It's all right. Janie, if you can share a little bit with us, and then let's go to Charlie Freak.
Yeah, so I have really enjoyed how I ended up here. I have like no idea, but the synchronicities were amazing. And there's something with South Africa, because, you know, I was on the Wellness Lifestyle Conference a couple of months ago, and then I don't watch TV anymore. I watch, literally, I watch you guys on YouTube and Gaia TV. And I found Michael Tellinger and his Ubuntu, and I watched his entire series. And then next thing I know, my friend put me on to Charlie Ward and all of you guys, and then now I'm here on the show today, and you guys are all here. It's like, yes. And so I was shown, you know, I got a download. I'm here to do really big work in really simple ways. And I also know that, like, part of what we experience in our personal life has a little bit to do with how we shift and change things globally. So I guess I more have a question, and maybe it's for Jesse, maybe it's for Charlie. So I have found myself smack dab in the middle of a nasty custody case. It's been going on for 2 years. I went through the experience of losing everything. I was married to a not so good person. And so my thinking process does not work like normal people. And there's a lot of this stuff that I don't understand how it's even like legal. If that makes
Lawful.
sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Lawful.
Yeah. And so I live in a state where in the best interest of the children is how things get ruled. But it's not. It's who lies the best, who has some sort of evidence on paper, because, you know, through all the abuse, I never called the cops. I never, you know, all of this stuff. So I don't have any quote unquote proof. And so I'm wondering, like, yes.
Can I jump in very quickly, or do you want to finish your question and then I can answer?
Yeah. So I'm, because I see how this affects children. I see how this affects women. And I can also, because I have the ability to see all sides of the story, even from like the bad person that is.
It's very interesting what you mentioned up, because you're mentioning contract law, you see, and this is a thing that's the big issue of this freedom and deception, psychological deception problem, is that they've, you know, I'll let Dan go forward, but I'll answer that. But you mentioned something critical with what's actually changing right now, because, and I'll explain it, but Dan, do you want to go for it? You want to go with what you want to say?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, it was something I was going to speak about earlier anyway, so it's interesting you brought this up. I feel there's a huge, what we're seeing is something which we often talk about in our circles, which is a part of an archetype called the trickster energy. And that trickster energy is been so alive for I don't know how many years, but it's the deceitful one. It's the one that comes from the head. And if people are only in their heads listening to the words, they can be so easily deceived by the trickster. And I don't know why. Jump in.
He's absolutely right. I mean,
like with that, and this is what we're seeing, Janie. That's absolutely. This is turning, like what you're turning in your own reality, in your own life, is the big shift. And I talk a lot about polarities between masculine and feminine. The polarity is the charge of love when it's in balance. And the trickster energy has been so distorted and manipulated. Literally, if you imagine screwing it so tight, its opposite energy, its polar opposite is the energy, I've lost it, is the energy of the peacemaker. So we have peacemaker, trickster, masquerading as each other, and it keeps flipping. So the veil keeps flipping, and it's the one that is in the most unstable state in the world today. And two, what actually it does, it disembodies people.
Yeah.
Psychically, physically, energetically. So like I hear you saying, you can hold all perspectives. Can you hold Janie's perspective from her feminine body, from, you know, that woman's perspective, that embodied whatever needs to move? Because whether it's rage or, as Jessie said, grief, there is so much grief. The world is going to get really wet soon. The ocean's going to rise with the tears we're going to shed. That energy, whatever is yours, is the one that's going to turn the trickster and the peacemaker out of its manipulation game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's so crucial. A big thing with the ascension in vibrational frequency depicting matter is that information is becoming far more available than it ever has been, because the higher the frequency, the higher the light information. So essentially, we all know this, that it's going to be inevitable to have deceits. It's going to be, impossible to keep a lie without karma immediately coming back to hit you back in the face, because of that thinning of the veil between the thoughts and the, you know, reality construct, right? So that's a big thing. And how are we actually seeing that take place on a, let's say, earthly realm in terms of our politics and so forth and so on? This is the issue. This trickster energy, you know, it's an inversion, right, of all that's good. And it's you know, we have to look at the system we're in right now, because unfortunately, the environment is what's determining the well-being and behavior of everyone on this planet. But the small few are in charge of the environment, right? So we're in these essentially governmental environments that are so crazy, because you have to be the most unbelievable trickster in the world to literally convince someone at birth that we're just using this paper to essentially claim ownership over you, and we have full control over you. So you're in a situation at court or whatever, and now all of a sudden, who's there to mediate your affairs? An external corporate entity, the judge, right? Okay, that sits on the bar. What is the bar? The bar means bank, right? Bar literally means bank. Okay, because they're extrapolating sweat equity from us. They're extrapolating energy from us. The trickster has been put in place with the system that exists to suck you dry. Okay, in every way possible. And this also comes down to the mass sacrificing and all of that stuff, because these guys are smart. They're evil, but they're smart. They're redirecting energetic fields, as you can imagine, throughout the rest of us, so that everyone's just in this unbelievable, you know, distraction mode, super hyper thought, unsettling, whatever. But now I think what's happening is that everyone's had a huge wake up to stop and consider and look. And when at that point, that's when now all of a sudden, oh, now you're looking around and now you're noticing things you didn't really see before. And the biggest thing that we're going to notice is that, what the hell, why is a judge who wears a black robe, who else wears a black robe? A college graduate, a rabbi, and a Catholic priest, and so forth and so on, because it's literally symbolizing the brotherhood of Saturn. Okay. You know, so you got this judge that's literally Satan, you know, literally satanic system. You're interacting and engaging with the satanic system on a day-to-day basis. Like, the thing is, I don't even get into like the conspiracy details and so forth and so on. I can just tell you the very obvious facts. The very obvious fact is that the government has gone ahead and claimed ownership and jurisdiction over you, and has essentially killed you on paper.
That's right.
Now you're dead on paper, so you have no rights. And what the hell? That's a game. That's a silly little game that you guys made up of, and it's not real at all.
Yeah.
And that's the trickster. That's the trickster in his most ultimate form. He's convinced us that, you know, we all have to be corporatized and work in a certain way in order for reality to function, which is absolutely ridiculous, because the whole way we're supposed to be operating is inverted. What's it been inverted from? Community, everyone equal, to top-down pyramid, right? Just sucking everyone dry. So now it's great, because this is the great equalizer, 2020, the year of karma. And law's going to change. So don't worry about your kids right now. Just realize that law is going to change, and very soon it's coming. As I said, it's imminent, because with this reset of civilization that's taking place, it's coming. That's going to come with essentially a new judicial and entirely new way of doing things that essentially allows the people to decide how they want to do things, if they want to be a part of something, this and that. No eternal contract that sells your soul and gives anyone the ability to get involved with your affairs, your life, your
Yeah.
property. That's the actual term in the Bible. They don't call it a child in court. If you call it a child, that's a judicial word used to trick you again, right? And you know, you're actually supposed to refer to your kids as your property, because if you do that in court, you know, all of a sudden, just with one word, that trickster energy, one word, they're literally putting you in their jurisdiction. Their whole court procedure is satanic. They're tricking you in from the moment you get in there. Their job is to essentially lie and intimidate and coerce you into essentially being like, oh, I'm my birth certificate. Here I am. This is this legal entity that you own. And because you own it, you're deciding what happens to it.
And the birth
I'm the living man.
certificate-
You can't own me.
And the birth certificate is on the stock exchange, and you're the commodity that's supposed to be backing this money system. But Jesse, I'm going to quickly switch over
Sorry,
to
please.
Charlie.
Take it
No
away.
problem. Before Charlie, would you like to jump in and share some more of your energy, if you can hear us?
Yeah, you bet. First off, you know, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Amazing.
Okay. So first off, just, you know, with your situation, what Jesse is saying is absolutely so. And in this moment, you must trust and have faith that everything will work out, because remember, the creation is of the creator. So everything is working out. The only thing that separates us from this constant knowingness, this gnosis that everything is as it should be, are the hands of man. So again, you have the left-hand path, red shift, and the blue-hand path, you know, blue shift, and right-hand path, blue shift. And it's a choice, and we always get pulled out. So blue is in, and this relates all to the Hermetic principle of Hermes, as above, so below, as within, so without, as with the universe, so with the soul. Everything is happening simultaneously in all realms at the exact same time. So we are the microcosm of the macrocosm. And if you want to know, that's again why this ancient adage always holds its weight in gold, is because it's always true, and it's always true in every single moment. That if you want to know what the universe looks like, you just need to know what you're like. In other words, if you knew what existed inside of you, if you knew why we function the way that we function, or why we take the thoughts that we necessarily take, and therefore the actions in our lives, then you would know exactly how the cosmos or the universe works, because we're made in the exact same way, of the same start, of the same space seed. We're all one of the creator. Or is gold, Kriya is to make, T is the physical form. So we are the golden children of the golden creator on the golden creation. Gold, gold, gold. Everything with Donald Trump, gold standard. Jesse said something really powerful earlier, which was that people are not seeing Trump the way that they really need to see Trump. And this is where you become infused with all of this certainty, knowingness, power inside of you that Trump is absolutely for real. There's so many people that are still on the fence, or just outwardly denied, because there's a picture of him with, you know, Jeffrey Epstein from 14 years ago or something. And so of course, you know, he's evil and stuff. If your eye be single, thy whole body fill with light. And if you are light, you will rise. If you rise, you will have perspective. The problem of being down on the valley floor is we're obstructed all the time. That's what this system of justice that Jesse and that you're experiencing right now, because you didn't play the game their way, right? So somebody is abusing you and your children, and you didn't have the wherewithal in that moment to contact a legal authority, get a piece of paper that then justifies the act of sedition against you. That's insanity. Who thinks like that? You don't think like that, because you're right brain. You're a feeler, you're a lover, you're a carer, you're a giver. The system that exists out there is the masculine erect penis. They're not interested in making love to the woman. They're not interested in taking on an eternal partner of love. They're not interested in sacred sex. They're interested in raping and taking, and they do through this vile system. We have to go within. We must descend. The lotus flower, the 144 petal lotus flower, exists here in the sixth chakra. This is Ajna. Ajna is the sixth chakra. It activates the golden gland. Glands are G-land. G-land, God's lands, the endocrine system is pure magic within you, and we must be in balance and harmony, and that's what the endocrine system is. A drop here, a drop there, a drop here, 3 drops there, half a drop here. And we never get to that point because we live in the left brain. They force us to live in the left brain where it's facts, figures, and logic, and we live in the lower brain stem. So again, when we were talking earlier about this necessity to be of the body of the earth versus then in the head. There's a misconception there. I understand what's being said, but there's a misconception because where they put us is in the left brain of the head. The right brain of the head is everything. So the 90%, which is the right hemisphere of the brain, is everything. It is the unification of the father and the mother. That's why the mother is magnetically charged. She's a scalar wave. She's an 8, and that's what she does. She constantly is attempting to rise to the father because they are in love. Just simply look at what the moon does, 28 days every month, 13 moons, and they give us a year of 12 months. There's 13 moons. And every single moon, she does the eternal, beautiful dance of the 8. And then look at what the father does over 365 days, 365 and a bit days. The bit is the pineal gland, and it does the exact same 8. They're in love. The father and the mother are in love, and they must be in unison. We must unite these energies together, and together we will change everything. Dan was making a lot of really beautiful comments, and his perspective is so wonderful because he's speaking from the yin and the yang. He's speaking from this unified field, this unified front of 2 worlds as one. Unless we do this, nothing is going to change. So in the moment, trust, have faith, know, as Jesse was saying, that this corrupt system is going to end. It absolutely will. What we need to understand is these deceptive words. So they have created for us a system of legality and illegality. It's a falsehood. It's completely illegal. What they've simply done is because they were the original, the cabal that we talk about are the Phoenicians. And where is Phoenicia? Phoenicia is on the rolling hills of the Holy Land down to the Mediterranean. And it is incredibly fertile land. It's where all of these great Lebanese cedars are. There's just so many crops for so many things, like their purple dye that they made so much money trading. So they became great traders. But how did they get to Phoenicia to become the Phoenicians, which are the Venetians, which are the Romans, which are the financial district in London, which is the military center in Washington, D.C. Like, how did this all happen? Because they're Cain from the Bible, and Cain killed Abel and was cast east of Eden. Eden is east of east is west. So Cain was cast out of the Holy Land for committing the murder. West of the Holy Land is Phoenicia. The Holy Land is right here. And when you look at the Holy Land from a higher perspective, the Sea of Galilee is the skull, the Jordan River is the spine, and the Dead Sea is your sacrum. There it is. It's a Tesla coil right there. It's the ascension of mankind right there in plain sight on the earth. It's what we are. It's what Tesla's technology is, what these Tesla towers are. It's what Elon Musk is making in Texas. He's not making cars. This is this magic of uniting these 2 worlds, which is the mother and the father. And these Phoenicians are the one that separated this. And they do this through a ceremony called the cremation of care. I'm sure most of you have heard this. It runs from the beginning of September to the middle of October. It's 44 days. The reason it's 44 is because the eternal 8, the 2 Ouroboros, are the father and the mother. Father, mother, and then they're not static, they're in flow, they're in perfect flow and balance. That's the eternal 8, mother and father, eternally in love together. And what they do at this festival, so when you guys have all heard of outside of San Francisco in the Redwood Forest, what's their little hangout out there? I'm just their little hangout in the Redwood Forest where these demons, they all meet and they have their little meeting. They have a festival which is called the cremation of care. What they do is they have these ceremonies that separate the 8. separate the
Bohemian
eight.
Grove.
Bohemia Grove, that's right. And that's what they're doing at Bohemia Grove. That's why it's always at the beginning of September, because it's the beginning of this festival of death and destruction of the sacred feminine, always of the sacred feminine, because then it pulls the feminine away from us. And that's how we rise. The feminine is magnetism that rises. So the separation of the 8 into 2 4s, and then that's what they do. Then they rule with their 4, which is the masculine erect penis, and it stabs everywhere. So their system of law isn't law. There's God's law, and there's only 3 laws, and they only pertain to the land, because the seas are your left brain. It is chaos. Think about it this way. The perfect example that I can give everyone, and I'll just stop it here and we'll go back over to everybody else, but the perfect example I can give to you of the difference between, and how we must live our lives, the difference between the right hemisphere of the brain and the left hemisphere of the brain is a hurricane, okay? And there's a hurricane season every single year to try and powerfully teach us this message. All around, in 360 degrees, no matter where you go, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It just is what it is. It's a total storm, and it's moving out in every direction. You can't escape it. It is a nightmarish storm of frightful capacity, okay? Then in the center is the eye of the hurricane, which is the eye of the needle, which is the stillness and silence. So what do they tell us? What exists inside the eye of a hurricane? It is complete stillness and silence. That's right. That's the right hemisphere of your brain. If you cross the river, the horizontal divide between your brain, if you cross the river and live in the right hemisphere, that's that Dan talks about. That's that beautiful unification between the father and the mother. They're in the right brain. They're not in the left brain. The left brain has no access to God, no access to the sacred feminine. That's why it's called the dime brain. It's 10%. And Jesse was saying, these are very smart people and they're very good at what they do. And in fact, they take religion, they take it seriously. They don't follow it. They use it against us. They don't follow it. They use it against us, but they take it seriously, and we take it as a joke. Our organized religions, no matter what you want to look at, the different ones. I mean, even the brilliance of Buddhism and Hinduism has all been reduced down to this dime store, charm school, bracelet kind of ridiculous gnosis. This is serious stuff, and it's us, and it tells you the truth in every single moment. And they take it seriously, and they rule against it. So finish with this very quickly is this. Legality is the seas, are the laws of the oceans, the laws of the seas. There are no laws of the seas. This is what the Bible teaches. You go out onto the ocean, chaos will ensue. That's the hurricane. That's the out there. That's the out there world. It's the left brain. Jesus got off the citizenship. Jesus left the citizenship and he walked upon the Admiralty Law waters. That's what we must do. We must walk upon the waters of their bullshit system. We exist. We're real. They don't exist. Don't tell me what to do. Don't talk to me about my kids. Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? What does every police officer say to you? What does every judge say to you? Do you understand me? No, I do not understand you at all. Do you understand me? I understand. I overstand. When I'm mastering something and learning about it, I'm understanding. And when I have mastered it and I wear the crown, I overstand. Never use the word understand. It's another one of these tricks against you. Absolutely. That's the first question they'll ask you. Are you this person? No. Do you understand me? No. You work for me. You understand me. I understand. I see you. You're full of shit. You're a liar. Yeah. You're the erect penis of the man without the woman.
Yeah. One more thing, what you just said there about Jesus and maritime and admiralty law. Jesus was actually, this was who he was battling, the Romans, the Roman Empire. Right. So he was like, this is wrong. How the hell is everyone owned? I don't like this. They're like, who the hell are you? We're going to kill you. Okay. Now we're in a position where Christ's energy is returning because his energy of knowing what's right, which is that we are free. That is our God-given right. That's our greatest gift from God, our freedom.
And Donald Trump knows this. I guarantee you, if there's one thing to take from me today, is that Donald Trump is the reincarnation of Cyrus.
Yes, I heard you say
Old
that.
Testament, that Yeah, the book of Isaiah, chapter 45. Donald Trump, the 45th president. In the book of Isaiah, the chapter 45, Cyrus is anointed by God to be this person from above, to come down and, to muddy his feet upon the earth and to chase the
I wouldn't consider him a god.
The temple.
Well, it's not
not
a god.
But another thing is, it's not just Trump though. Remember, first of all, there's 2 Trumps, okay? And it gets so much more crazier, because I'm not going to get into it now. But the point is that it is so much more vast than what people think it is. It is vast. It goes deep. I didn't even think we're going to be able to get all the truth at once, to be honest with you, because of how deep it goes.
It blows your mind.
It's not going to happen. They might even keep stuff from us, because, as I said to you, there are, V, right? V, if you go on my Patreon, I got a 4-hour video with her there. She's a genius. She is a literal genius. At the age of 5, they found to her, she had unbelievable memory recall. At the age of 12, she went through to college and specialized in telecommunications, was instrumental in SMS technology, as well as instrumental in the internet, okay? Building the hammer. So I've never in my life spoken to someone that has all the pieces of information, because she's still to this day a military consultant, because of her knowledge of the hammer and her telecommunications consultancy, because initially she was setting up the infrastructure for the military. So I mean, it's, and I cross-reference her information with psychics, okay, and I end up finding all sorts of crazy stuff. But the point that I'm saying is that it's a lot bigger than Trump. Trump is just a character, but what we really need to understand is that we are the ultimate characters in our own storyline. We have to, this is the big thing about where we're going. Like, if you're going to all of a sudden say, oh, now we're going to have self-governing communities, that means you're restoring your power of choice back to you. So you are the ultimate character in the storyline. So yes, there's Trump, but please don't look at it like a god, because there's many things behind Trump.
No, and Jesse, yeah, and it totally isn't. Again, and that's the importance of actually reading. That's the biggest problem, for example, with literalist Christians. They actually don't read the Bible. They don't read it for themselves. They do not listen to the words that are being said. They couldn't be more plain. They couldn't be more direct, more honest, more beautiful, and telling the pure truth. But they don't. They accept interpretations of men in black robes. And Jesse spoke to whom these men in black robes are and what they represent. So when you take the time to read Isaiah chapter 45, what you'll see is that doors were open. What King Cyrus did is he walked through with wisdom upon his brow and strength in his fist. And those who were the demons saw the light of God in his eyes, and they capitulated. And that's what this is all about. Trump is opening doors. We have to do the rest. If we don't ascend, if we do not cross the river from the left brain, which is facts, figures, and logic, and thinking, to knowing by going within. Alchemical science, alchemy is our endocrine system. It's everything. If we don't do this, then 50 years from now, we're going to find ourselves right back in the same spot. And just one other quick point about what the legal system has taken away. You've heard of these ancient stories like Robin Hood and sheriffs. And if you go back and you actually do research, literal research into the sheriffs, what you find is that when we lived in a simpler time, when there only were the 3 laws, because that's all that exists is God's laws. There are 3 laws of the land. There are no laws of the sea. There's no such thing as legality or illegality. It's complete bullshit. So the only thing that exists are the laws of the land. There are 3 of them. And the sheriffs with a feather in their hat, because they had the bird head inside of them. They were goodly, godly people. They were activated with the bird head. If you take a cross section of the human skull and you just look inside to that 3rd ventricle, you'll see the actual bird of Horus inside the head, our head. And so these sheriffs, they went about the land, and what they did is they enforced God's law. So there were no courts. They were the traveling circuit, which has now been turned into the traveling circus. And so they see how they've distracted us away from the simplicity
Yeah.
and the beauty of the law. So now we have circuses with animals and carnies. Carny is for carnival. Carnival is carnal, the left brain. Carnal world, the left brain. So these sheriffs went about, and you know what all they did? They settled every single dispute right here, right now. No documents, nothing. They worked out solutions right here, right now. Both people shook hands on it. They were the observer.
In the eyes of
then
God.
it was done. No courtrooms, nada, nothing. Common sense, and that's what they did in the moment. And by the way, when you look at Trump and his sort of elite teams that have gone underground for the children or that provide protection for them, they all, if you notice, they all right here wear the sheriff's logo. It says they all have sheriff on them because they've all been deputized to become sheriffs of the land.
Thank you very much,
Can I
Charlie. And
ask
before
both Charlie,
Nadine, before you quickly respond, and I'm going to give straight over to you. I just want to quickly respond one thing to Janie. And Janie, you know my story already. It's been 13 years since I've have contact with my children. I last saw them when they were 12 and 15, and so I'm very much aware of the journey. It's going to be tumultuous until you come to the stillness and the calmness and letting go, and it's not easy. And you have been part of the process that I had shared with you and many others. Jenny has also been part of a process with that, and Nadine, my mother, spiritual mother for 20 years, has met my boy, so I know exactly what you are going through. I also just want to quickly respond to Charlie and to Jess with regards to the 3 laws. I have 3 laws that I go by, and that is do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impede the freedom of another. Those are my laws that I absolutely live by. Great. Now, Nadine, let me give you a quick response or quick question, and then I do want to close off with a message of hope from each one of you after we are already heading for 2 hours, and, you know, I could go on all night. But Nadine, please go ahead.
well, it's a bit strange when I listen to all of you, especially Charlie and Jessie. I got a message, an intuitive message, that both of you have to investigate in the CERN collider in Switzerland. And will you please do some research, because there's a lot coming out there. That's all I know, because I have been writing this prediction fiction, and CERN has come up very strongly. And I would like to really...
I'm friends with a scientist from CERN. Sorry, continue. Well, he used to work at CERN.
Yeah, so it's coming very strongly out. And it's also to do with piercing our reality here into other realities and what's coming through CERN. And I'm just wanting to know if Charlie has ever actually picked up anything there.
I'm going to ask.
Yeah, it would be an entire show, but suffice to say, there are 2 CERNs there, and Jessie knows this. There are 2 CERNs. There's the CERN above, which they tell you is, you know, the Hadron Collider, and that's what they're doing and spending all of this money. And then there's what's really going on underneath that. And essentially what it is, very, very briefly, quickly, what it is attempting to play God. Is that this is because these demons are absolutely aware that they are lawyers and that they're loopholers. They're constantly looking for loopholes to get around God's hard and fast laws. And by the way, that's why they exist upon the sea. That's what Venice is, right? Venice, it would be the head, shaped like a head, and it's an island at sea. So from the sea, from this island at sea, they cast all of these evil spells against us, and then they're safe because they're in the lawlessness of the sea. That's why they rule through Venice, is because it's an island at sea. That's another loophole around God. So CERN, you're absolutely right. It's huge. They will not succeed. They will not succeed. But that is what they're trying. They're attempting, but I will tell you something become the creator. Sorry.
I'll tell you something interesting, because I've had many interdimensional experiences, all sorts. And recently, I think it was like a month or 2 months ago, I had, whether you believe it or not, I'm going to speak my truth. And if you go, I had a reptilian experience, essentially. And what happened was they completely hijacked my reality. Like they completely took over like my entire experience. And initially, I didn't really know what was going on. And by the way, it wasn't just myself who had experienced this. There were 2 people with me. And it was the time of that last full moon, that second last full moon, when a portal opened. So you guys know we're splitting, Earths have been splitting. Okay. Santa's naughty and nice list. That's why I say, don't worry, we'll be good. But I do stress the urgency of being proactive, because that's what your soul came here to do. But even in doing that, I'm still like, well, everything's going to be fine because we create our reality. But our reality is a combination of our consciousness and our actions. We need to get those in sync. You know what I mean? It's not just sit on the mountaintop and just meditate away and go do some yoga and take some Instagram pics. I'm joking. But it's practical. We need to actually be practical and get our consciousness and our actions really, really aligned. But with regards to CERN, it brought up that story, because what happened the whole time, and I communicated with them, it was insane. I don't know if you guys want to hear this experience, it was insane. But long story short, okay, I actually felt sorry for them. Because even though they were taking over my reality, it was like a reality of fear and desperation that they were trapping me in and caused all this confusion and stuff, until eventually they like manifested in front of me. And when I saw them in front of, but before they even manifested in front of me, they turned into like an AI, sort of like face, like intelligence. Okay, and this is this hive mind, right? And I experienced it. And when I was looking at this, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, this is insane. And then eventually manifested into reptilian afterwards. And I'm like, oh my God, this makes total sense. Because, you know, if you do your research, read the books, you'll realize the capability within these astral realms. Okay, they have a super duper advanced ability in these astral realms. That's why they've been able to control us like you can't believe. Like they understand our psychology better than we do. But long story short, what they were doing was they were trying to break into my reality through the portal that happened in the eclipse, so that they could take control over it to almost like redirect my energy and situation, because we're all determining now the new earth and the old earth, and they are so worried about it, so that they're doing everything in their power and ability to still try to hijack our timeline. Do you get what I'm saying? So the fact that you mentioned CERN is very interesting. I have one individual that will tell me right now, V, and then the other individual is a scientist there, but he, you know, when he realized what he was doing there, he sort of got out. But it is very interesting, because then it coincides with these planetary conjunctions, the one that's happening in September and the one that's happening in December. Now, I would be lying, and anyone would be lying if they said they knew what was going to happen. We don't know. I mean, we have an idea that yes, civilization is going to reset and this and that, but we don't know what it's going to take to get there. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And just like in anyone's individual life, we have to go through like a turbulent, you know, tough time to learn, to spiritually grow. So as a mass collective, you know, I hate to say it, but we all have to go through like, you know, people think it's done. It's not done. It's a little bit bumpy around. Okay, fasten your seatbelt and meditate as much as possible. Meditate. Sleep, wake up. You have to really reprogram the daylights out of your behavior now more than ever. And this is to all the viewers, okay? Because guys, you know, but so you'll stay safe, and not only will you stay safe, you'll prosper like you never have before. Okay, this is your timeline. This is the timeline they're trying to get into and interrupt. We're talking about
Jesse. Can I? I'm not. No. Please. I want you to continue, but on closing off with that statement, with that message of hope, you were heading that way. So I want to give you. I want to give you that opportunity to wrap up yours with your message of hope, and then moving on to Charlie, so that we can close off with this. You know, what is that practicality? Because that is something that really means a lot to me, that we get our hands in the soil. So if you can continue just closing up with your point and with that message of hope, please.
So the beautiful point is that one way or another, we are returning home. We're coming straight back home, and home is absolutely glorious and beautiful. And part of coming back home and part of feeling home is understanding what it is that you truly are. And when you know, we're going to experience it more than ever, but collectively now. We're heading through to some beautiful times, and look at the conversation that's happening, all this proactivity that's happening. These are reflections and emanations that God, the universe, the cosmos, source, Holy Spirit, Ki Chi, so forth and so on, is is essentially giving us the greatest privilege that we chose before we came into this lifetime. The most unbelievable privilege to experience going from darkness into light, and from going from limitations to the truth, which is our complete unlimited nature. We're going into a time that on an individual level and on a collective level, we're coming into contact with the truth of our consciousness, the truth of our reality, the truth of our being. And that truth is infinitely vast beyond your wildest imagination. And we are in a process of experiencing and integrating this extremely vast, infinite, eternal, unifying energy that is us, all playing out together in this beautiful storyline, giving us the ability to experience love in a form that is only available in a realm like this, where we have the ability and the chance to truly graduate from this beautiful planet we call Earth, to get to really move consciousness and civilization into thousands of years ahead of where we're supposed to be, which is unbelievably exciting and involves the commitment and involvement and participation of each and every single one of you. Each and every single one of you guys listening to this right now are so crucial towards us, and in understanding the truth of yourself and reality, you are going to all start playing in this intuitive dance of meeting together with shared values and shared solutions in whatever varying different degree. But the point is that now more than ever, this quiet child in the class that never gets a chance to speak or never gets a chance to be heard is now the one that everyone is listening to. And that is each and every single one of you. Each and every single one of you are going to be responsible for at least like 700,000 people as it hits this critical mass, and that the inevitable event, which is the truth, will come out one way or another. And this is part of this enlightenment. It's an enlightenment of knowledge and our realization and understanding of this truth.
Thank you, Jesse.
So be excited.
Thank you very much, Jesse. And then Charlie, I'm going to just tease you a little bit as you go into your message of hope, because I've heard that people were calling it the hopium, some ridiculous label of hopium. And so I just thought I'd throw that in there to lighten it, because we all need hope in being practical. So please go ahead and share your beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, and you know, again, it's just the left brain attacking the right brain. It's just people that are rooted in their left brain, and again, that is fear. And when you're in a state of fear, you will attack. You will not take the time to know or assimilate. You will attack, and that's all that it is. So for me, it all comes back again to the basis of all creation, which is that when we were created, we fell from the singularity of God in heaven to this duality on the earth. And as was shared earlier, this is all about the polarity of our duality. So there's an infinite plane of dualities here, and they're all defined by the polar opposite, which means that through the gift of free will, we can never replay the same event or the same day in the exact same way. It's impossible. There's an infinite array of choices to make in every single moment, which means that we can go around this wheel, the samsara, we can go around the wheel millions and millions of times and never once get a sense of deja vu, because the gift of God is so perfect. It is just expansive beyond description. But we will go around this wheel until such time that we do it right. There's never been a better time to get it right. I did a podcast I was telling Jesse about. I released it 2 days ago now. And this is about, it's incredible, the synchronicity, because Jesse, when we talked, he started our discussion together about this cosmological event in our sky, which is Saturn and Jupiter coming into alignment and proximity to Sagittarius, okay? And all of this is happening as we approach 11-3. Now, 11-3 is very important. 11-3 is the election. This is November 3rd. And remember, it's your election in New Zealand. It's your election in South Africa. It's your election in the United States. It's my election here in Mexico, because the only politician in the world that is standing up for us is one person. That's it. Everybody else is a demon scumbag. They're all being controlled right now. But nobody has stepped up to help us in any way, shape, or form. So this is why this election is a singular event. It is good versus evil. It is life versus death. It is. There's no Republican, Democrat. It's ridiculous. So we're at this synthesizing moment in our history. This is that one moment. If you were ever going to choose to be alive, this is that moment. We live for the opportunity to be here at a time where we can make the greatest possible change. You can. From the greatest to the smallest of how you see yourself inside can make the biggest difference in the world through your thoughts. So we need to align with these energies that are above us. And I just quickly will explain this energy. Jesse talks about Saturn, as most people do, as sort of unilateral. Jesse knows that it's a duality, but he was just referring to it as Saturn, Satan, and the Saturnian death cults. Remember, everything is a duality. So Saturn is essentially us. That's why of the 7 heavenly energies, the highest 2 energies are Jupiter, 6th level, Saturn, the 7th level. It is the highest of the high. And it's just that when we do it out of the left brain, it's the lowest of the low. So the left brain, Saturn, is Chronos. Chronos is crown, and he wears the crown of linear time, which is deception. That's Baal. The right Saturn is Jesus Christ, or Krishna, or Buddha, or Zarathustra, those who beautiful, beautiful angelic souls who came before us and showed us the way. That is the right way. And that's wearing the purple crown. If your crown is not purple, if you have not experienced purple rain, then you're not doing the work. And this is this passionate healing gnosis that exists in all moments when we make the decision to cross that river to the right. So Saturn is a representation of the sun of Jupiter. So Saturn is Zeus. In Greek mythology, Jupiter is a representation of God, the sun, the creator of the sun, so the embodiment of the sun. And then the son of the sun in Greek mythology is Zeus. Saturn is Zeus. And this is where the name Jesus comes from. Jesus is Jupiter, Zeus. Zeus is Jesus. That's the symbology of this name. And then Christos is the anointed one. So this is us. And so what you essentially see in the sky is you have Saturn, which is the son of God. So let's say Jesus Christ. And then you have Jupiter, which is God. And they're on the level. So that means they're telling the truth. They're on the level. And they're in retrograde. See, retrograde means that they're going in the opposite direction of what they normally do. So they're going out of their way. That's the symbology of this. They're going out of their way to do this for us. So this is God going out of his way to do this for us. And Jesus Christ and God are moving in perfect alignment. They've never been closer. The next closest time is this event in 1666 that Jesse's talking about. And that's, the London fires and the Great Plague and Sesquivi, all of these things that existed, they do it on these highest energies to take us away from these highest energies. Yeah. No more. So that's why I did that video, and it's a remarkable video. Yeah. And so Jupiter, the sun, Jesus Christ, and God have never been closer. They're in perfect alignment, and they're approaching Sagittarius. Sagittarius is the archer's bow. But when you do research into Sagittarius, it's called the keen bow. And the keen bow never misses. It's always on target. His aim is true. He who wields the keen bow, his aim is true. So you see, that's the single eye. That's the light within us. That is the connection to God. So you see this beautiful Trinity, this holy Trinity that's happening in the sky, this alignment. And so right now it's all about the truth. And those people who are lying are going to get caught, and they're going to get called out, and they're going to be taken down, because we have no more time for lies. We only can deal in the truth. And that is this incredible event. And if that doesn't give you hope, and if you think that that is some kind of, you know, fantastical hopium story,
yeah.
you're missing out on the simplicity of what's happening in the night sky above you right now. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I was going to, and Nadine, if you can go next, I was going to call this round table the true normal, stepping away from the new normal. I was going to call it the true normal, and somehow the pinball happened to be found his thread in here, but definitely is the true normal that we are stepping into. Nadine, if you could share, and then Janie, if you could just share your message of hope, Janie, and then Dan and Jenny, if you could go after that, and then I'll close. Thank you.
Thank you, Nirvana. Well, I've seen a lot of visions. I know what the world will look like. I've seen it. And it's good. It's okay. It's fine. It's the same as, it's fine. It's the same as, you know, when, like I heard the other day, when they have firecrackers and the dogs are, and the animals are so frightened. But the owners know it will pass. And that's actually all I can say. It will all pass and we'll be fine. And I'm hoping the people in New Zealand can cope with this. It's early in the morning at your place, I believe. Yeah, yeah, shame. And well, thank you all for, Janie, thank you all for your participation here. It's been a wonderful experience for me as a story writer. Very helpful. Thank you all.
Thanks, Nadine. Thank you always for your support. Janie.
So I really liked what you said, Nirvana, about letting go. That is one of the things that I learned. I had to step into my heart in order to let go of anything. Because that's where I find like my truth is in my heart, and then I can follow my intuition. And so my message of hope would be to trust in your intuition and to follow your heart. Because that's ultimately where the truth lies. It'll keep you out of confusion, out of fear, for one. And I know unfortunately, I know for a fact that I am where I am because I ignored my intuition. There was a lot of signs, and I wanted to trust, and it wasn't the right place to trust. Yeah, so definitely trust your intuition.
Thank you very much, Janie. And, you know, I also have to remind myself always that you are at the right time, at the right place, and the right space at this moment in time. So there is no regrets. There is no I should have, or I could have, or I have to. And this is where you are. And we hold each one of us in this beautiful space as we are having to ride this, or be this in this machine.
Learning as you go.
Yeah. And we can support each other and lean in with each other. I see some very interesting, Dan and Jenny, and I can't wait for you to share your closing, and then I will close us off. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I was wondering if it's all good with you that I close a bit like I started, with reference to my dearest dog who passed away. And when she passed away, she said, "Be here now and experience love." And I played a song, and if it's all right, I'd love to share it with you.
Please.
I basically looked in her eyes. She did an open eye meditation with me for the last 36 hours of her life. She looked into my eyes, and I tried to feed her. I tried to give her water. She just shook her head and said no. And I said, "What do you want?" And she looked in my eyes, and I finally got it. She was just saying, "Just be here. This is it. There is nothing more to life than just love." And I made this song up, and then she said, "Go and share that song." And I never dreamt of ever playing it for anybody, really, but she was She knew. This is from Peanut. Can you hear? Oh, sorry. One thing. Can you mute everybody, because they'll hijack it. Mute. Thank you. Trippo, trembo, trembo che sendorano maio kendora campona yo haro aye trippo, trembo, donja corai Sendorano Daro Genora Tampona Yo Genamo Yaro Sangona Yato Tambora rohai, ongaro kaiye, ripotana yo, tanaye, tamboraye, kendora tanoraye, tanohayo, tembona noraye. Someone out there loves me, this I know. Someone out there loves me, this I know. Someone out there loves me, this I know. I'm gonna love forever more.
It is so beautiful. It is
Thank you so
beautiful.
much.
What a beautiful way. I somehow always attract some musical way that it ends my round tables, and I'm really, really blessed. The last time, Jenny, you did a beautiful decree on Africa, I remember, with my last round table. So yeah, for me, I just want to say really thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And so I'm really grateful, and hope to do more work with you and be able to share each one of our individual voices and messages, and have a space for all of us to say what we say, and who resonates with us will be attracted to us, and those who doesn't will do their own journey, and we bless them on that journey. Again, this is Authentically Me, and I'm Nirvana. This is a unified round table, the truth normal. And thank you so very, very much, each and every one of you, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. It was amazing meeting all of you. Cheers.